Mid-May 2024 with the Lovelocks in Sunninghill. Rough cut photo trails. And as always they will be rough cut. I'll start with a standard introduction. Here we live at 22 Armitage Court in Sunninghill. All inside's about fierce guard cats. You may get a glimpse of one of them soon. This is the spot, so-called Robin's Corner, where GPS was tested from the late 1980s on, down at this spot. Yes, a bit of garden sculpture from June. Coming up to 4 years ago, she gave me that as a birthday present. Here's the oak tree that came up from an acorn. And yeah, cameras everywhere. Grass growing nicely, might cut it sometime. Coming down the front drive. Yes, this is June's car. Promotion of the website that was business many decades ago, but is now hobbies and charitable causes. Yes, this is one of our guard cats, Bentley. He's the senior guard cat, has been training Toadie in house protection, property protection, and lots more surveillance locally. Coming down here, yes, there's the bicycle. Haven't had a chance to try that out. This is the project of a couple of years ago now, I guess, with the accommodation for people like Bentley and our Toadie, with armed mice and various other things. And it's, of course, it's somewhere to put the dustbins. Glimpse round there, yeah, load of mess. Right, coming up, I'll be going into health and safety warnings in a moment, but there's a bit more about the robot boat in this one. Yeah, this is where we come into the house. This was our camper that was used to take Snoopy's robot boat down to the coast for its last attempt on the Atlantic. And battle damage, June said Robin did it, Robin said the wall did it, but the wall is okay. Now, I have to point out some health and safety things, warning messages everywhere. They're all jokes, of course. You don't have to take them seriously, so don't worry about it. Yes, closed circuit TV cameras inside and outside the house, sound and videos monitored in local houses and everywhere. No trespassing, violators will be shot, survivors will be shot again. Probably, oh yes, another, that's my study in there, you may get a glance of that. Do not disturb, I'm disturbed enough already. And perhaps the most important sign, because it's not only cameras, it's other things like water squirters. Home of mad ex-NATO scientist Robin Lovelock. Beware of web cameras and water squirters loaded with water, paint, acid, DNA tracer or nerve agent. Robin would not be mad enough to test these, or would he? Okay. It's a joke, of course. Yes, that's a project from Christmas, the fairy, flatulent fairy as somebody say when you look at the noises it can make. Lots of fun. Right, into the house. I think it's safe to do that now. And June's getting ready for us to go out for a picnic with the Bansals. So what I'll take you through here is a glance of the study. And what's going on at the moment is processing of yesterday's video that should be part of this photo trail at the end. Glimpse of the kitchen. Nothing much in there. June's hoping to get a new kitchen. Might do sometime. She got one in 1881. Right. Now, first a glimpse of the lounge. And what's on the screen is the Spot Satcom's tracker position that is currently in June's car that we saw a glimpse of just here. And that's pretty good information. But what's much more important is the robot boat. Oh, slight distraction, a bright idea. We might make a duck, tug duck, I think. Probably go a little faster than most ducks. Right, we're coming into the important room now, which is the games room. One of the reasons for these videos is that hopefully we may find people to help in things like, it might be called property maintenance.
GPS time 9:41, 44 seconds. Target alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees. GPS course 136, speed 0.0 knots, left 147.
So this is coming along nicely. We may be getting close to being able to do a Bray Lake test, which we do thoroughly before attempts on the Atlantic.
GPS time 9:42, 9 seconds. Target alpha, 11 kilometers, at 349 degrees. GPS course 156, speed 0.0 knots, left 147.
That's the autopilot software running. If I switch off and start again, you'll hear the details like the version number.
Snoopy's Pickaxe 28X2 GPS only autopilot. Software version Romeo. Last update 6th of December 2017.
Yes, so we haven't had to change the software for years. The things that fail are always mechanical things, which are described in various places. This is the old tracker that's currently in, the proper one is in the car, but that is the same thing that was written off basically on the last attempt. And this is extra test equipment for Bray Lake. So we've been redoing this whole lot in a much better. So that's the Mobius video camera that is put on just for a Bray Lake test. And this is the things holding stuff again just for test on Bray Lake. The text-to-speech unit, so the computer can be heard speaking. The GPS logger to record the position second by second going around the lake, and of course everything is driven by solar panels. Yeah, lots of words and things. Pictures and videos often say a lot more. So this is the games room, and we hope to get this lot tidied up and things put in the right places. What I will show here is, yes, there are several other robot boats here. That was Eric's boat, which goes far faster because it's smaller, but not enough solar panels for Atlantic. And that was Alexei from Russia's bright idea. And old robot boats here. Materials, lots of materials, all to be put in the right place. And the fact they're in here at the moment is a temporary thing. Right, lots of words here, but it often captures information which wouldn't otherwise get. So this is the pond, and all the water off the roof flows into the pond. This is patio area. Again, recent thing on photo trails is the pond pump is being driven by solar panels backed up by mains power. There's the water squirter just gone off. That's only got water in it, by the way. That's probably my movement that's caused that, unless it was a plant going in front of it. And that's to deter the heron. We've got other... Yeah, that was me, I think. It's only water in it. I vouch for that. Yes, that was done a few years ago, but has been improved. So we got a temporary place for all the odds and ends that were dotted around the garden before we decide better places. And of course those mirrors help to reflect the heat and the light from the chimney. There's June's new barbecue, which we've been trying out recently. So a quick walk down the garden. Yes, Robin's old telescope, built the optics when he was still at school, and haven't done anything on it for years. Now we're pointing out plants that are shooting up almost day by day. So that's June's greenhouse, that's Robin's workshop, that's wild fennel brought back from Sicily, lovely flavouring for things like pasta con sard, pasta with sardines. Coming down to basically a project being going on in the background, which is tweaking and improving the sundial. I'm not sure, I can't see very easily what the time is at the moment, but we've got that sundial, which is a conventional one, says, oh, coming up to 10 o'clock, yeah, 9:45ish, looking at the direction of the shadow. And the direction of the shadow here is based on this globe here. So according to that, if you look at the direction, it's saying, well, it's going roughly that way. And yes, there's 9:45, but British summer time is an hour extra. So that's all being tweaked, as we say. Yes, I'll go down the garden this way. So all water off the roof flows into the top pond. When that is full, it flows down the stream into the next pond, so-called duck pond, but ducks have never taken an interest in it, and overflows down into the reservoir for the bog garden. And so things are flowering up, coming up here. There's Gunner romanticata, the giant rhubarb, there's one further back there, and hawthorn coming into flower, and that may encourage birds to nest in things like nesting boxes. And even when the hawthorn really gets going within several years, it'll they may nest in that. So this is the junk heap, compost heaps. So this stuff is fairly easy. What takes time is, yes, stuff like that is clearly going to be thrown, not all those containers, but the most important stuff, and where the time is taken, is sorting out all the, I'm going to look inside here briefly. So that was done several years ago, and some tools are there, but a better place will be where they can easily be found, and found by anybody. I don't think anybody's going to be stupid enough to come in and steal anything. So, for example, a lawnmower. There you go. Look down the garden and you find a lawnmower. There's other tools there. A lot of these things could be put in better places, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, June's little plant garden. Another accommodation for guard cats. Memento of our late pussycat Gingy, otherwise known as Fartalot, christened by Michelle. The laboratory, lots of tidying up, even though we've got the cupboards to put things. Yes, robot boat stuff, electronics, robot boats, Halloween stuff. And coming around, robot boats, there's the materials there, ready for making another one if we hadn't have got the other one back. Yeah, tools. And as I've said many times, it's a case of finding places to put things while you then decide what you throw away, keep, or give to somebody else. Yeah, so there's the workshop with stuff that you'll see being used, and there's a vice. And that was the last job, which was spraying those little pointers. There's lots of tidying up needed. Look around the corner, another little wild patch, you never know. Eventually, with time, birds or other animals, some animals already do take an interest. We get regular visits from hedgehogs, foxes, and of course birds, not nesting necessarily. Yes, this is going to be a long intro, but as I say, some of this material might be of use to guys who are going to help us or others, or at least perhaps decide not to make the same mistakes that Robin has. Here's June's greenhouse, another hawthorn tree growing there, coming round. Oh, it looks like somebody's just put something in the dustbin. Look where we keep stuff here. Yeah, that was June. So, oh, here's Bentley. So he's still on guard duty, aren't you, Bentley? Anything interesting happen? No, he said. Boring, really. Right, so I'll go back the route rather than try and get in through the front door. And so then we can run into that long photo trail, or photo trails, for basically this one is for the middle of May, and at the end there'll be some clips that were shot earlier, not so much early in the year but last year, on two subjects. One is a very important one, which is the prophetic words of James Lovelock about global warming. In short, it's going to happen. Main thing is doing what one can best to... Sorry about the interruptions of the robot boat. And the other topic is Robin's experience with the DVLA, the fact I still don't have my driving licence, which is all that's public information for those interested. Right, so now into those long photo trials. Saturday the 11th of May 2024, 19 minutes of photos, including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yes, quite a lot of the material is very familiar, including trips around the garden and the animals and wildlife, because Robin continues to tweak different things in the garden. Yes, that'll be clear enough. And of course June and Samantha tennis while Robin doing work, including a bit more work on the boat. And of course they got the Spot Satcoms tracker in the car temporarily, so that was used to test that. And the main event was a trip up to Raunds to see, well, a family get together around the new baby, 2 months old. And I've got to be very careful, I'm told, not to include a photo of the baby in the photo trail, but everything else is okay. I think that one is going to have to be modified. And yes, so what else? That's the trip up. Yeah, I took photos whenever I saw interesting graffiti on a bridge, but I difficult to know what's artistic graffiti and what's not. Yeah, so we get back. I also checked out some of the strengths and weaknesses of the Google Maps sat-nav, and tennis on the television, of course, and June lights up the barbecue for another evening meal. And I take the Spot tracker out of the boat, and well, I don't actually out of the boat, no, that's where it's going in the boat. That work had been done the day before, and check the tracker. Yes, and that all worked. And then my own Spot tracker, yeah, that shows the trip up there in detail, including wherever I walked, and back home just here, having a barbecue, and Samantha likes to eat it in the kitchen. And yeah, so that was enjoyable. Saw the sun going down, took the direction of the sun, and that said, perhaps I can estimate, looks as though that's about an hour out. So something to be done in longer term. Put out the peanuts for the wildlife, and there was a surprise visit, a lovely visit from the Bansells. And so it wasn't much more than 15 minutes, I think, but enjoyable time, and chatting and showing them things. And yeah, so then, and of course I listened to the Radio 4 News, and it was the Eurovision Song Contest. So I did the closed circuit TV check. That actual check had been done earlier. I think the photos were done a bit later. Yes, usual things, including Toadie on guard duty, hoping to catch a mouse. And the Eurovision Song Contest is on, so that made it a late night. And Switzerland won, United by Music. Yeah, it'd be nice if that applied. So, end of the summary, and now into the full photo trail in the order the photos were shot. So yes, the one of the trackers shows them at the tennis court. I'm doing odds and ends in the garden, generally, and I'm using the opportunity to take a trail. Yeah, there's the temperature climbing up towards 20, and yes, the looks like the pump is working there. That's the little DC pump, but lots of little odds and ends on the go. Yeah, so I think I sprinkled a bit more water down on the seeds that have been planted where above the cable. Oh yes, coming up for 10 o'clock BST, which is 9 o'clock, and so looked at the direction of the shadow, and it's fairly easy to move the numbers because they're not screwed in, they're glued in, and took a walk down the garden, just see everything gradually coming along, including the bog garden and the gum romanticata, giant rhubarb, and the hawthorn beginning to blossom. That's hopefully to encourage birds to nest there. And yeah, just have a quick roam round. Everything is coming up. Yeah, looking up the garden, that's where a lot of the stuff is kept. Yes, including junk, but some of that junk is useful junk. It's all a matter of knowing where things are. That's one of the reasons why they're put on display. And of course these photo trails are partly for the possibility of helping others help me. Could be advice, or actually helping to do some practical work to get on top of things. We are on top of the garden now, but the whole house needs a lot of work. It's mostly putting stuff in the right place so it can be found, and throwing away the stuff that isn't needed, as opposed to the stuff that could be useful or is useful. So that's June's greenhouse. And what else have we got? Yeah, just looking at roam round, coming round to the front again, and the dustbin hide, and yes, the cat fort. Yeah, one of the flowers coming up nicely. I wouldn't necessarily recognise them. So that's at the front with the, yes, sculpture that June got me for a birthday present practically 3 years ago now. Roses coming up nicely on the corner, the rhododendrons in flower. And yes, I thought that seed I'd put down and compost, I could afford to give it another water to encourage it, because that was very much prone to moss, that front lawn. So there's the tracker showing them at the tennis club. Yeah, glimpse of the robot boat. So that's where the Spot Satcom tracker is going, and yes, that is working, even though all it's got is a small solar panel, just enough to keep it topped up, but it doesn't move very often. Oh, you're doing the commentary for the day before, like I'm doing for this one. And what else have we got? Well, it looks like they're back now, and yeah, the spot tracker's working, and that's our planned trip up to fairly soon. It's coming up to the time we've got to leave, and some interesting emails came in, all a matter of doing things in the right priority. So don't need my warm suit because it's lovely warm weather. So we're off on our trip up north. It's through the village first. A few landmarks in the village. Many have been here a long time. Past the school, St Michael's, where the Ponsfords and then Lovelocks went, other than Robin of course, and June. Yeah, basically anything worth seeing as a landmark, might be a well-known pub to us at least, and onto the motorway. And the things that caught me is the graffiti, and some of it looked like business graffiti, but you can't be sure, and you need to check it out. Very well done. Yeah, there was me looking thoughtful, could be some of the instructions on Google Maps, sat-nav, were not perfect, and I realised that was almost certainly the gathering of the data that it uses rather than the logic of the software. But you can't be sure of anything. Yeah, so just sat-nav makes it a bit easy, and yeah, so we're getting close now. Yeah, so we've arrived, and June parks the car. I take my Chromebook out. I didn't spend much time on it, but it enabled me to do a quick 1 or 2 checks, including whether, for example, an important email had come in, and I do get those occasionally. Yes, that was a chat to the others that were on their way. So basically it was a family group, essentially, yes, checking another tracker. Anybody interested could say, where's Robin? Well, that's where his tracker is, and that seemed to be working fine. Yes, well, we're going to have to fuzz out the picture of the baby, I think, but anyhow, you have to fit with people's wishes, even if they're living in sweet ignorance of what the situation is with security on the net. But not to worry, there's me wittering on. Yeah, so I think I'd use the Chromebook just to check that. It looks at emails, and yes, some interesting conversations going on. Obviously a lot of pictures were taken in the garden and shared within the family on WhatsApp. I'd caught that was the same product that I bought cheaply. A lovely food, rustled up. I think that was mostly my sister Sally, but I can't be sure. And yes, very artistic, some of it. So enjoyable time in their lovely back garden, and yes, there we go. And of course some of the time people say, no, let's take some photos of the family just for passing around on WhatsApp. Although June tells me that pictures of herself and other family pictures, they're quite happy to be public on some media. She wasn't sure which. So I think that's yeah, so we're leaving. There's a pussycat appeared. But yeah, so we're on our way back. Not much of interest. The sun's gradually going down. Just whenever I see a bit of graffiti, and there's a chance, I take a snap of it. Oh yes, going past Luton Airport. That was fairly well signed. And yeah, we decided to take the usual route back after around the M25. That's plane coming into Heathrow, I think, or leaving Heathrow. And again, some of the landmarks, there's Royal Holloway College, and so we're coming into Sunninghill now. Yes, or are we? No, we're not quite there. That's that was Crossways where June lived, and that's yeah, now we're coming into Sunninghill and entering the village, the Cords Hall, Jade Fountain, or the Jade, Sun Cafe, Chapman's, Barbershop, Comrades Club, and into our place, and it says, isn't it clever, welcome home. So we got back okay, and there's Bentley. It was a bit too sunny for him, so he was sheltering under his car on the opposite side of the road. He normally comes over for all sorts of things. And yes, they put the tennis on in the kitchen, and I went out So I checked, yes, that pump seemed to have stopped, no surprise. So it's a matter of swapping. That thing can be tidied up, but checking voltages, and yes, it was down below the voltage it should be. So one of those spare batteries, as I say, needs to be tidied up, but at least it shows the strengths and limitations of the products we're using. June's decided to rustle up the barbecue, and I've been having trouble with that camera, so I needed to find a solution for charging that up. And the spot tracker is the one that's going into the boat, and of course the previous day I prepared a platform for it, but I had to put the cable in. But then I checked, right, let's look at it. Anybody visiting the link on the Snoopy page could see the history as well as detail where the tracker stopped. Because the tracker was in the car, that's essentially where the car was, and that was all looking good. Then my personal tracker, and the difference is it updates more often, and yeah, back to where we are here. So that's good. June's still getting barbecue, and I took a few snaps down the garden. Sun was getting low. Not sure when I took the pictures, so I think, not sure what I'm quizzing about then, maybe what the rush is for the barbecue. But so June's having the pasta bine, having all the other stuff. I didn't need that warm jacket. Oh yes, I swapped into the warmer jacket. It was pleasant enough, and then I saw the direction of the sun, so I could get an accurate direction at whatever time that was. You can't really see anything on the sundial, but you can see the geometry of the sundial, and I reckon that the direction would have mean those numbers weren't right about an hour out, but that's a job to be done later. No rush at all. June's doing a usual combination of watching tennis on the telly, I'm having a cornetto, and of course we've got Eurovision on. So put out the peanuts at the front, and that's the front, and that was at the back as well. And then there's that surprise visit. Very welcome and good timing. So young Daman and his dad Raj, and Bal and Mandeep. So yes, they made most welcome. The timing was perfect, so we were able to enjoy that. And so they were only there for about 15 minutes, but very enjoyable. Oh yes, there was a video chat between them and their family group. That was lovely as well, including interaction between Daman and the family. Yes, there's Toadie relaxing, and I listened to the Radio 4 news, whatever time, it's probably about 10 o'clock in the evening, BST, and do the closed circuit TV check. I might have done the check earlier, and he's just taken the photographs a bit later. And so there's foxes both at the back and on the top bridge after the peanuts, and not all the visits through till 0403 GMT in the morning when the camera switched to colour for the day, and now going backwards from midnight. Yes, me taking some pictures of the moon, and Toadie probably hoping to catch a mouse. That's what Toadie's there for. And through till 2007 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. So yeah, did a bit of rearranging of the furniture because that was blocking the view of the top bridge. So that was pretty well it there. Watching the Eurovision, and of course getting to the interesting bit, and Switzerland were clearly going to win, and so oh yes, that was got to follow up on that. Hopefully those trackers will continue to do good work. And Toadie's out there just live watching for a mouse. So nothing other than Eurovision. Results starting to come in. Yes, looks like Switzerland united by music. Yes, time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 11th of May 2024. 18 minutes of photos, including this 5.5 minute summary at the start. And yeah, a lot happened that day, all enjoyable, even though very busy. Yes, the first pictures were of the squirrel just looking out the window. And yeah, what else? Yeah, grab the chance and just check the sundial. Yeah, there's a few garden things going on in the background, but the one of the most important events was the visit to the place Westways Farm, and it was all work. So we're off to that, and yeah, past the Red Lion in Chobham as opposed to the Red Lion in Lightwater. And yeah, anybody could have seen, oh, looks like they're walking around that garden. So yeah, enjoyed that. And yeah, that was a large grandiflora. Lovely big place, very interesting swimming pool, not swimming pool, sorry, pond, where kids can walk over the top and look down. Yes, met some friends there, not old friends, new friends, including doggies. Yeah, lovely great tennis courts. June took an interest in that as well as the plants, and of course it was a lovely big garden, lots of things including woods, and yes, tea and cake. And I was having a scone or whatever it was, and this doggy stole it from me, but I took it back and finished it. Yeah, stables there. There weren't any horses in it at the time, but yeah, and then on our way back through Chobham, and this is the thing which was a spur of the moment, Chobham Common, and it was absolutely, that's the tracker. Anybody could say, oh, it looks like Robin's on Chobham Common walking around. And yeah, we didn't take the correct route, but it made it a more interesting one, and June could see the grazing cattle right in the distance, and apparently they've got GPS trackers on them so that they get a warning not to go out of the area. Anyhow, we made our way to Tank Hill and the flying sort. There is what remains of the notice board, and it still has that picture that I put up, aerial picture taken in the 80s, I think. And yeah, and there was some lovely conversations with the guys there, and one of them, yeah, the horse ladies went past, no problems. One of them, he insisted on, and I eventually gave up, and yeah, and I didn't break it, and I hadn't flown a model aeroplane for, I don't know, 20 or 30 years probably, seems like it. Anyhow, that was absolutely lovely. And of course the key thing again is the people you meet, not only the place. So we make our way home through Sunninghill and into Armitage Court, number 22. Yes, probably taking a check whether the tracker worked, yes, including getting back here. And yeah, one of the background jobs relates to the power for the garden pond pump, 12 volt. And yeah, June's rustling up a barbecue now at the back end of the day so that we can enjoy that. And yes, a bit of artistic work there. And yeah, put the peanuts out at the back and at the front porch, make sure there's plenty of those, and put some feed out for the fishes. Get in later in the day. So there's the check of the closed circuit TV overnight, foxes and hedgehogs coming to the front porch and the top bridge just outside the patio door. Yeah, 2 hedgehogs there. So that's just a, oh yes, and Toadie hoping for a mouse. And yes, now I decided to order those, they were cheap. 12 volt. Yeah, ordered 2 on June's Amazon account, but of course she insisted I pay by sending me a PayPal request. Now, since it was a Sunday, I thought, now I'll get us some exercise and walk down to the village. And I was going to go in the Conquerors Club, which I did, but I thought, oh, I ended up walking all the way to the post office to get a bit of cash out. Anyhow, I enjoyed the time there, And yeah, check the tracker briefly. Yeah, anybody interested? Oh, Robin's in the Comrades Club. I make my way home, and of course what isn't on these photo trails is I got up in the middle of the night for the video for the early May. Anyhow, the tracker says it shows Robin in the Comrades Club, and got back here okay. Time for bed. So that's the summary. Now in the photos in the order they were shot, starting with the hedgehog. They were just looking out the window. I was quiet, and I'd gone in there in order to look at a few other things, including the robot boat, mostly just to show you the state of things. And I must have decided to go out, and yes, yeah, loads of tadpoles there, you see. So everything is growing, including the wildlife. So it looks as I might have topped up the pond there. And yes, what is that? 25 past 11 BST, which is 25 past 10 GMT, and I think that looked roughly the right position, but I'm checking these things whenever the sun's out, and it's an easy job to move the numbers around. So yeah, a few more photos in the garden, and yeah, it's getting a bit of a mess, but it's getting better rather than worse with time. Oh, that's a thing that Juna bought for giving herself exercise. And yeah, that's the video for the day before. Of course, what that doesn't show is the video for, what was it, 10 days before? Oh yes, looks like we're about to go out and Bentley's blocking the drive. And yes, so he's decided, right, I'll sit up on Samantha's car. And yes, he's doing his guard duty job, as opposed to just sleeping in their house. So we're now off through the village. So I'm sure we're off to, yeah, that's a reminder of the party in the park, D-Day party coming up. So we're past a few landmarks through Sunninghill on our way to Chobham for the garden that's open for the National Garden Scheme charity. And we had been there several years before, and remember, it was a lovely place, and as always you meet interesting people. Some you've met before and remember even. Yeah, so getting close, go past the red line. That was on Red Line Road, practically there's the signs for parking, and of course it's a nice big patch of land, but lovely old land as well. So yeah, first thing that caught June's eye was the Magnolia grandiflora, and that it was a pond, but you could walk out safely over the top of it, and that'd be lovely for children interested in the wildlife. Yeah, obviously. Oh, that's a doggy. There were several doggies. In fact, I can never be sure which were visitor doggers and which doggies lived there. And a couple of them, you could hardly tell the difference. They're relatively young, up to lots of things. Oh yes, that was Druid's Den, I think, because round the edge, yes, there's lovely trees and yeah, and places for horses, tennis courts. Of course, June took a great interest in that. Could see that they played there recently. And then they're looking back towards the house. Yeah, every now and again. Oh yes, so right, we have our coffee and cake, and I gave a little crumb or two, and it happened too quick for me to catch it, but one of those doggies actually snatched it out of my hand very gently, but I took it back off him, and I thought I'm not going to catch anything off it, as I told other people. So then I carried having a look round, because June was interested in the last little bits, and there's the stables, and obviously where they can exercise horses. That's one of the horses, Prince. The horses weren't in the stables when we visited, but lovely place. Past the red line at Chobham, as opposed to the red line at Lightwater, and on our way home over the motorway. Yes, just a little photo trail. and over the motorway again. Oh no, sorry, no, we're not on our way home. We're going to Long Cross car park to walking around Chobham Common. I did say that. Thinking it was something which, if we'd had other people with us, we probably wouldn't have done. But the weather was nice and hadn't popped up there, and a Sunday thought there's a good chance there'd be some flyers there. We set off on the wrong route to begin with, which was still interesting. It was along the sort of bottom, the bowl area, and June pointed out the cattle that once upon a time I had a fence around them so they could graze, and now they've got little GPS tags that I think emit a noise to frighten them if they stray outside their boundary. So then we managed to make our way up the slope to the spot where it'd be nice if they cut a few trees down there blocking the view. It always was a nice view, that's why the benches were put there. And then we get to the flying site, and around behind the bushes there are some guys but I took a few pictures, including the one I stuck up there quite recently. Obviously the sign is falling apart. The pegboard's still there, and there's the guys the other side of the bush. And oh, it was absolutely lovely conversations with them, and they showed me the models. Oh yes, a couple of lady horse riders went past there, and now I get the names mixed up. One was Fred and one was Peter, but basically, I hope I didn't get it wrong. I think it was Peter insisted I fly the model, and I hadn't done it for years, and it was great. Anyhow, that was lovely, the time spent there, particularly meeting those guys. And so we're making our way back to the car, and yeah, that's a lovely little pond there right by the side of the car park. And yeah, so we're off, and now we are off back home. So over the motorway near Long Cross Studio, I think that one was. Oh, I get it mixed up. Yes, that would have been. And yeah, we've come through Sunninghill into Armitage Court. There was a glimpse of a fox in the middle of the day running off. I wasn't quick enough with the camera. He had something in his mouth, looked like a shoe he might have stolen, but didn't get a chance. And yeah, so I checked the tracker, because the tracker that's going in the boat was in the car temporarily, and sure enough that showed where we'd parked the car. Doesn't update that often, but shows all the right spots. So that's the boat, and the tracker is going in on that little plywood platform, and got to wire it, but that's on the list of things to do. And now I'm looking at the personal tracker that I normally wear, and of course the difference is it updates several times a minute and actually shows walking around the garden or walking around Chobham Common. And then get back here, back home. So lots going on. Now that is a little project on the side, experimenting with different things. Now with the 12-volt water pump works very well, and the main thing is the power for it. I would also notice probably foxes or hedgehogs had knocked one of the garden ornaments into the water, so I've got that out. And again, looking, if you judge the direction of the sun, and of course the shadow should come from effectively the pointer of the sundial, and so those numbers have got to be shifted. I'd already found that out a day or two earlier, and I've got to buy a number or two, a job for today perhaps. Yeah, June's rustling up the barbecue, and of course Samantha's joining us, and that's the pond pump working there. I think I had to, oh I know, it was spouting too much because of an obstruction, so with the pair of pliers, the right tools, I was able to squeeze it so the water didn't jet, and then put the pliers back in the right place, which for the moment some of them are kept in the games room because a lot of the work is in there or next to it. There's, yes, artistically arranged barbecue food. Put out the peanuts both on the top bridge and at the front in the porch. Put out some feed for the fishes. Yes, temperatures have come up, so they are tending to feed now. And what else is there? Yeah, it looks like barbecue stuff's been cleared away. June's watching tennis, I think, in the kitchen. And that's just looking at the closed circuit TV for live. Sometimes things pop up, especially wildlife that can appear any time of the day. And now going through the closed circuit TV check, I think, for the night, starting from midnight running forward. Not all the visits, but representative. So hedgehogs and foxes sometimes sharing the peanuts, especially the more experienced fox. Fox at the back, taking the peanuts off the top bridge. There's two hedgehogs at the same time, and that one looks darker, and he seemed a bit of a bully. It was either a bully, I'm not sure what he was up to, but anyhow, it's interesting seeing the behaviour between animals of the same type and others. And when I say animals, that includes humans, of course. We are an animal. Yes, there's Toadie hoping for a mouse to appear. There's me rearranging the chairs. So by now I must be running backwards through till 2007 when the cameras switched to black and white for the night. Yes, and then that was the bright idea. Quite cheap to buy a couple of those on Amazon, which are mains 12-volt supplies. Yeah, and sure enough, June sent me a money request for them out within a few minutes. Well, what you got to do, got to pay it. And there's Toadie live, watching, hoping for a mouse to appear. And of course, because it's Sunday, I better stretch my legs and take a walk down to the Comrades Club. But I needed some cash. I do like to carry cash with me rather than just the credit card. And so I'd left it a bit late to go into the one stop, so I had to walk that bit further around to the post office. But got the cash, was able to go into the Comrades Club, ordered my bottle of 0% Peroni, checked the tracker on the smartphone. I don't tend to use the smartphone much as a smartphone, but now I'm making my way back home. And back to number 22. And June's still watching the telly. I checked the tracker. Yes, there's the time I spent at the post office chatting outside one of the places, the guys there, and then back home just here. And time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Monday the 13th of May 2024. Less than 10 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the front. Yeah, standard mix of stuff, but progress on certain fronts. Yes, that's Bentley relaxing in the house as normal. Yes, the video is published for early May 2024, which was whatever it was, about 10 days of photo trails. And yeah, the women are off shopping. I say the women, that's June and Samantha in Bracknell. Yeah, that tracker worked. Watch that space. And there's the remains of a mouse found on the mat. My guess that was Toadie. And those arrived, which were the 12-volt mains power packs, 12-volt, yeah, from mains. Anyhow, that worked fine on the pump, but the solution for the cable need to be improved. Instead of it going out the door, we popped round a screw fix, and that was lovely. Met Rob, who was our postman for years. Anyhow, so improvised a solution of running the cable along as you see there, and throughout the day that was with other things on the go, that ended up good. Yeah, so getting at the back end, and June's rustled up curry, popped the peanuts out, and I used Chromebook for some of the things I was doing. And yeah, closed circuit TV check. There's Toadie watching for mice, foxes coming for the peanuts at the front, and the hedgehogs. And yes, there's two foxes. Hello, Mr. Fox, or Mrs. There's a hedgehog again. Yeah, so getting at the back end, watching the news with Toadie, including the King, and weather forecasts. So I need to catch up on sleep anyhow. So time to bed, and that's the end of the summary. So now into the orders, into the photos in the order they were shot. So yes, that was that video that was published on YouTube, had automatic subtitles with translation and everything. And yeah, I had a quick look out in the garden. Yes, fair bit of junk there, but it's stuff that's being used. There's Bentley relaxing, practically sleeping on the games room windowsill, looking out the back garden. Well, he's not, he's sleeping most of the time. And yeah, that's probably processing of the video for the day before, like I'm doing for this one. And look to the tracker. Yeah, there's the June and Samantha in Bracknell. Looks like they're on their way back. They'll be back here soon. So yes, popped out and there they are arriving. They went in Samantha's car that time. And yeah, so they got whatever stuff they did. And there's the tracker. I hope those trackers continue to work. And I just say watch this space. Oh dear, remains of a poor bird. I'll do the best I can, but no, I'm sure it wasn't Bentley. Nah, probably Toadie. Went out in the garden partly out of curiosity, and I thought, oh, the sun was coming out briefly. Whatever that was, 12 BST. But of course then as soon as you want to do a check, sun goes in. But that's one of the little background activities. Temperature coming up nicely, 16 degrees centigrade. And now that pump had stopped, and all down to power. And you know, I have been swapping things around. Some of it's experimental because you're checking out products, but at the end of the day, he said, but now he's got some bright idea perhaps. We'll see. Yeah, women watching tennis, boring, on the kitchen TV. That's what the but is. We'd had a delivery on Amazon of 2 of those mains to 12 volt power packs, very cheap, and of course a nice solution as a backup, but got to check them first. So simply plugged one end into the mains and improvised the connection to the 12 volts, and it worked. And in fact I popped it across the battery, solar powered as well. Yeah, put tools back in the right place. Those are the tools that are used for jobs like that locally. And yeah, when I went out, I noticed the water squirter to deter the heron was being set off by a leaf, so I moved that. Yeah, so it's all about the routing of that wire. Can't leave it just running out the door. Oh yes, June's doing exercises with that. Yeah, that's the video from the day before. All these things are being done sort of in parallel, I suppose. There's Bentley decided to come in and play with one of the toys in the lounge. Right, so the routing of that 12 volt supply, perhaps we need the right wire. So pop round to Screwfix, and there's Rob. Oh, I used to be a postman. That was brilliant. Catching up after years. So now, I didn't get the wire I was after at Screwfix. I didn't have it stocked there right now. I'd have to wait for the next day. But June found some wire that would do the job nicely. And so it's all down to the question of how do you route it. And yeah, that's sort of temporarily messing around. And in fact, at some stage, I made a stupid mistake of where I plugged it in. But anyhow, I'm just checking voltages and things. Yeah, when something doesn't behave as you want, that seemed to be working fine. But that, I think, was the solar panels. Oh yes, protect the cable from mice temporarily while it's exposed with that spray that we'd got a few days earlier. Peppermint spray. They don't like the smell of peppermint, I don't think. And looks like June's rustled up curry is getting later in the day for the evening meal or dinner. I take it into the naughty corner, and then he says, "Oh, you stupid boy, I'd switched on the wrong plug." And of course, as soon as I did that right, fine, everything was working. So I thought, oh, I'll grab a chance and put the peanuts out, both at the back and at the front. Make sure there's plenty of those for the different wildlife that come. And yeah, I took a few snaps of the pond, and June's come into the lounge, and so what I was going to do, I ended up doing it on the Chromebook instead of the lounge PC, and that was, I managed to do an update, and yeah, just checking that, so looks good. I can actually update the pages, including the Snoopy page, so I should better catch up. Now June's watching the Grand Tour, which I must, well, it was interesting, but meanwhile I'm also at least photographing the closed circuit TV check that I'd done earlier, and probably doing it, and yeah, so the usual pattern of this is going forward from midnight, foxes, hedgehogs, it varies, you get, that's one of the reasons I do it, and through to the camera switch at 0407 GMT in the morning to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight, and yes, there's Toadie hoping to catch a mouse. There's a hedgehog and a fox at the same time. Yeah, that fox is experienced enough. And there's a younger one. There's the hedgehog again. There's me getting back from the Comrades Club, and yes, that's me leaving, and hedgehogs again, and the camera's switched to black and white for the night at 20:08 GMT. So that's that check done. Yeah, watch the news, and yeah, with Toadie watching as well. Yes, the king doing a walkabout, and yeah, interesting stuff. Weather forecast, and I've got to catch up sleep because I was interrupted last night, so off to bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Tuesday the 14th of May 2024, 16 minutes of photos, including this 4.5 minute summary at the start. Yes, pussycats as usual, and a dead mouse found on the mat. Toadie, we suspect, and that was also the remains there from the bird the day before, so I decided to make good use of them and use them as a warning for any birds that decide to visit the peanuts on the front porch, but made sure that the alternative source of peanuts for them was topped up. Yes, so that's June and Samantha getting back from the first lot of tennis in the morning, and yeah, I just checked the tracker, the Spot Satcoms tracker that's going into Snoopy's boat, and also the GoTop SOS tracker. And I'm getting this warning, and this is a dialogue that's going on the question of whether those trackers, lovely sales guy, whether those trackers will continue going or only for 2 years after purchase. So that's a dialogue that is in progress. And they get back, and yes, by then Bentley is guarding the premises, and yeah, so they probably have a snack, and oh yes, and June was able to do a very useful check, and when we last visited Bray Lake, and that was very useful because I was catching up by taking information on the photo trails like this, and I had to make sure I looked on the right days for the pictures, and so that was very useful, the fact that Google Maps kept a record of where she went. Yes, and so Bentley's now in the games room with the robot boat, and the name of the game is taking a few photographs other than the ones I already had to update the website, which hasn't been done for some time, related to the robot boat. And sure enough, as soon as I sent an email out, we had a load of visitors. A lot of those were probably automated. Also took a look at PCSO's interesting article on Wikipedia for the history of that, because we had a meeting the next day, which is the Wednesday, or I did. Anyhow, yes, usual thing, checking the trackers and things. And yes, I was thinking, perhaps at the back end of the day, I'd go down. While June was having another lot of tennis, I might take a trip down to the Sorrentina and treat myself to the atmosphere and of course the food. So I took down there. June's off at tennis and I'm down to La Sorrentina quite early, 6:45 I think I arrived there. And yes, they were kind to give me a table. Enjoyed the lovely atmosphere, lots of birthday parties and of course the food, but mostly the people. And yeah, check the track. Anybody interested would be able to see where I was. And yes, out came that old 1,000 lira note, and yes, I did pop it on the table for a bit of amusement. And yeah, then I checked with June, well, Samantha first of all. So June is finishing the tennis. Does Samantha want to walk down for a little something? Probably no more than a limoncello. And checked the same with June, and the answer was no, she didn't. So worn out, I think. So I make my way home. That was a lovely evening at Sorrentina. There's Toadie on the doormat, probably hoping for poor mice to come out. Yeah, I checked the tracker. Yes, anybody interested? Oh, Robin spent some time either at La Sorrentina or next door. And June's watching the Grand Tour. Yeah, interesting thing about Italy, of course, and places we know, and interesting people. And yes, close circuit TV check, hedgehogs and foxes, and Toadie hoping for a mouse to appear on the top bridge just outside the back. And so time for bed, and that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. First, June pointing out, yes, Bentley's adopted his favourite place first thing, which is in the laundry basket in the utility room. And Samantha and June are probably getting ready for going off to tennis. And I do the usual little check out in the garden. Oh yes, and then yes, the dead mouse on the mat. That was last night. And of course I left before deciding what to do the remains of that poor bird, and I put those down where birds might choose to stray, and topped up the peanuts while I was about it, and also made sure that birds had started using that, so I topped that up. So any birds visiting the front porch, hopefully they'll take peanuts there. Then June and Samantha are off for their morning tennis, and by then Toadie has appeared. Yes, June's got the white go-top tracker, and that's one of the trackers that I test. And yeah, Toadie's, yes, I noticed the grass is beginning to spring up there, and the spaghetti is still there from back in April. Right, the women are off, and yeah, a few snaps there of the usual things, including my birthday present. Oh yes, traces of oil-stained water from June's car, and that grass is starting to come up nicely in the bare patches. So out to the back, yeah, top up those peanuts as well. And what else have we got? Yeah, just not much work being done in that area. That was done a day or two earlier. So just a few snaps. Now, look at the tracker that's going in the boat. Anybody can say, go to the Snoopy page, tap on the appropriate place, and up comes the position. And of course you've got the history there if you're interested. A good few 100 points held. And then I checked the white go-top tracker, and yes, now the only thing is I get those warnings, and So there's a dialogue going on in slow time, because it looks as though, yeah, Alan of GoTop, brilliant support he'd given, but gone a bit quiet at the moment. I wonder why. Maybe I've raised a difficult subject. I don't know. There could be lots of reasons. Yeah, so processing video from the day before, a bit like I'm doing now. And, looks like the women are on their way back from tennis. And of course that like GoTop tracker is working well. So if I go out now, I'll probably see them arrive. Yeah, that's it. I'm out there before they've arrived. And here they are. And yes, Bentley watching them, sat on Samantha's car. Yeah, that's the tracker. Yeah, that's the website. And yes, Bentley says, yes, it's okay for you to go indoors. And yeah, there's the peanuts with the remains. And yes, a little glance of that. I won't bother to say what it is, but I think it's pretty obvious it was a fart machine, believe it or not. Bit of fun, because it's remote controlled when people arrive. Yeah, just checking. Yeah, sure enough, the tracker's showing them back here. And it's actually, yes, very good. Actually got the exact address. And yeah, well done, Alan. But yeah, of course you get these warnings, and haven't found out even how to follow the links as they suggest and pay for subscription. So that dialogue is in progress, and fingers crossed we'll be able to solve the problem, especially if it's a sensible amount of money. That's fine. Right. Oh yes, we're trying to find out when I went to Bray Lake, and June looked on and very quickly Google said, yeah, there we go, those are the exact times that you visited, and there you were. Very, very good. A lot of people would be paranoid about that, but it's all a question of how you do things. So that's the spot tracker that's going in the boat, and that looks like they're off again. I get mixed up. It depends when it is in the day. Yeah, so what I've been able to do is get relevant pictures, and of course the video itself, from the right photo trail videos that are already on YouTube, so that information can be gathered for an update, the May 2024 update to the blog page. But of course, yeah, a number of things can cause a problem. Okay, there's the tracker. It shows they went to do a bit of shopping at Martin's Heron, and here's June back with the shopping. I help her in with that, and not much else. So then, usual thing, they're having their lunch snack, and yes, Samantha has noticed Bentley has moved into the games room, but not up on the windowsill. He's on the chair, so we put the cushion in the right place so he can. And he wasn't interested in having a little of my cornet that I was having as a lunch snack. So then a bit more rearranging of stuff and taking photographs that can be used for the documentation that's going up, and using, fingers crossed, one of the websites having problems updating, but it does update, and that's a dialogue in progress. It's all down to company acquisitions. And yes, I sent an email out to a number of people, including the Microtransect group and my friends, and sure enough, in no time there were people visiting the page. I also thought I'd do a bit of research on the subject of PCSOs, Police Community Support Officers. Excellent wiki article, and in summary it seems as though that was originally started in the States, then adopted seriously in the UK, and then by a number of European countries, but of course very political subject, especially when you look at cash flow, so we'll see. Right, so that's the spare spot tracker that is also carried around in the car with other Go Top trackers. So yes, and I get a report come in from the Satcom's tracker when the car moves, so all that looks good. So he's saying, yes, should I take a trip down to La Sorrentina, because June's off to play another lot of tennis. Samantha's arm wasn't too good, so she didn't go, but it was the ladies' social tennis at the Ascot Tennis Club, or Royal Ascot Tennis Club. So she goes off to that, and pretty well at the same time I take a walk down to the village. So I thought, yeah, I'll take a walk down and go into La Sorrentina, and they were lovely. They were able to give me a little single table. Enjoyed my time there, and it was quite a long stop and an enjoyable one, because most of the time, yes, the drink and the food was good, but what was really important was the atmosphere. As I've said many times, it's like being back in Italy, and obviously be careful what photographs you take, but yes, and that was in fact looking across the Bay of Naples. Oh, out came my rather tatty 1,000 lira note that they know well in the Sorrentina and a few other places, but caused a bit of amusement. And so there were several birthday parties there, very enjoyable. So I thought, well, I might as well see whether June and or Samantha would join me for a limoncello or something at the end, because that's when they were finished, or June was finishing the tennis. And so anyhow, as it turned out, I had my limoncello on my own, other than the occasional word, and back home. And yeah, there's Toadie on the doormat, probably hoping for poor mice to come out for things like peanuts. And June's watching, yes, you see it here what she's watching. I just checked the track. Yeah, anybody interested? Oh, Robin spent some time at La Sorrentina, and yeah, that's what she's watching, the Grand Tour history, and yeah, that was interesting program, and but of course I didn't see much of that. I did the closed circuit TV check, even though that was going on in the background. So foxes visiting for peanuts on the top bridge just outside the back patio door, and on the front porch. These aren't all the visits, but just representative. And hedgehogs, of course, sometimes two foxes that get on okay. And yeah, through till camera switch at 0430 GMT to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. Yeah, similar sort of pattern. But you never know, sometimes there's an interesting surprise. Anyhow, that's just a hedgehog triggering the PII lamp. And there's Toadie guarding, looking for mice. And that's when the camera switched at 1955 GMT to black and white for the night. So that's the closed circuit TV check done for the night. So time for bed, and that's the end of the photo trail. Wednesday the 15th of May 2024, 15 minutes of photos, including this 3-minute summary at the start. Yeah, lots of odds and ends, including a bit of work on the robot boat, a bit of work on the garden, and yeah, including the sundial, checking it. And yeah, there's the robot boat work, seems to be coming along. And I decided to, well, walk down to Chapman's, but the important thing was to go to the meeting in the library for the police community support officer meeting. And this is the third I'd gone to, and it was really useful. The important people, of course, are the people, including Danielle, that I hadn't met before. Easy to find her CV up on the thing. Recently joined the police, and we ended up, because it relates to the community, a video that was played on the librarian's PC of the police using my software many years ago, but these things all overlap with community. And then on the way back I dropped in to join June at the Bansals to spend quality time with their dog Romeo and Bal, and then left to come back and get on with all the work. So the numerals I'd found, the colours were around the wrong way, silly Robin, but I had some paint and Toadie was watching what I was doing, so worked out where they had to go, but the grass looked as though it needed cutting as well, and I timed myself, and the whole job, including getting the tools out, plugging them in, doing the lawn, putting the grass away, was I think 15 or 20 minutes. Back end of the day, eating, half moon, and what else? Closed circuit TV check, I suppose. Oh no, the COVID check, and adding that to the website and printing out a copy, the total deaths graph from the ONS. Now into the closed circuit TV check. As usual, visits by foxes and hedgehogs to the front porch and also round the back, and a glimpse of a mouse also coming for the peanuts. A great risk, of course, of being caught by a cat. And there's a hedgehog coming to the top bridge, the rear. Time for bed, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot. First ones were a little bit of work on the robot boat, making space for a better solution for putting that spot tracker in, and same places as it's been for years, is just trying to do the job in a tidy way. Oh yeah, took the chance to take a few photos. I think I might have topped the pond up as well, and of course the wildlife's coming along, including tadpoles and newts and things. Yeah, a bit fuzzy that, but looking at the time and the sundial, and I noticed that the pole there casts a shadow, which is a bit confusing, but not a problem. And yeah, putting tools back in the right place, whatever I'm using. In that case it was to do with the boat. Yes, I need that chisel, chisel, forget the words, needed sharpening. Right, there's a hacksaw blade that I was going to use for the boat, I think. Notice the grass is getting a bit long. So that's what I was using that hacksaw blade for, which is to trim up some of the wood inside the boat. All these things going on at the same time. Look at the temperature coming up to 20 degrees centigrade. Yes, watching tennis in the kitchen, and yeah, a bit of work there. That was probably the video processing like I'm doing now, but for the day before. And yeah, so that's where the spot tracker is going to go. And so I thought I can leave the one that's being tested, that's going to go in the boat, in the car, but the mount can come inside, and I use the old tracker that failed after its time at sea as a mechanical thing, really, just getting the space right for it. And of course it's got to be wired into things like solar panels, so that's what I was working on. Looks like that video was processed. Oh yes, that was stuff from the Hammer about the barbecue. Make sure that's in the diary. Yes, got a website. Call from Bal to June. Well, to me first of all. I think couldn't get hold of June. And so that meant June is going to pop down to the village. And what am I doing here? Oh, I don't know. Oh, it looks like I've just turned the tap off that was filling the pond. All a matter of checking things, and it hadn't filled it up enough to overflow, but that's the flow of water down the garden. Right, those numerals have to be the right colour and in the right place. So I thought, right, on my trip down to the village I'd pop into Chapman's on the way and pick up a numeral. Oh yes, I saw the fishmonger. Didn't speak to him, no time this time. Popped into Chapman's and picked up a couple of those, and yeah, so now going to the library right next to the school, St Michael's School, and that was for the meeting. I got there a good few minutes before, so I had a few words with the librarian. Lots of interesting subjects you deal with, so being careful, I took a few snaps around. Yeah, there's some history stuff coming up, and yes, there was the Carol Vorderman starred in the along with Nick Knowles in that video. Ended up playing that, and I got more frames later when I got home, and that was one of the lovely surprises that Tammy had worked for Carol for a number of years, including the years where we did that publicity. Right then, popping into the Bansals, hello dog Romeo, and yes, playing around in their garden. It's obviously a load of work going on. Oh yes, and that's the Flymo, and so I was taking the one that worked back and left the one that didn't work with him in case somebody's able to fix it. And yes, there's Romeo trying to pinch June's food, I expect, playing with him in the garden. And yes, lots of fun. Hello Romeo. And yeah, so that's the Flymo that I'm taking back. So yeah, obviously common interest in garden. There's Bentley sheltering from the sun by the look of it under the car. So back in the back garden, probably used the chance to, oh yes, that's where those new numerals are going to go. But then I noticed, a silly boy, the colours were wrong. So the answer was quite simple. I already had silver and gold paint, so it's just a painting job. So that's the, oh, you're looking on the tracker of the trip to the library and into the Bansals on the way back. Anybody could have seen where Robin was by just looking at that. And yes, back here, bit blurred that picture, but that's in the garage, looking at when, not sure what that does. The day we had a slight power cut for a few minutes. Oh yes, that easily found the CV for Danielle, and yeah, all public domain stuff. So recently joined the Thames Valley Police, but some interesting interests, so it's always useful to see what public information is available on people. Can be useful in many ways, including charitable causes and things. Oh, what's I said notice there? Yes, right, so the answer is spray them the opposite colours, let the paint dry. That's a case of removing them, and then of course they've got to be put back. That's the glue I'm using, very quick and easy to use. And yeah, in the longer term we might end up putting screws in. Put things back in the right place so you can find it again. Oh yes, found out some, yes, probably sent an email out to a few people related to that. That very interesting meeting. Pity more people didn't attend. Community is important. Right, so that's the time. Getting 7 o'clock BST, or just after. So looking at the direction of the sun. Oh yes, notice the grass needed cutting. No rush at all, but may as well grab the chance and see how long it took from finding the lawnmower and plugging it into power in the summer house or my laboratory, doing the job, emptying, there was only about one lot of grass cuttings, into the compost heap at the end, put the lawnmower back where it belongs, and then yes, I used those clippers. Could have used a pair of scissors really just for trimming up, and then the broom in order to sweep up remaining grass, and the whole lot. There you go. Was that 15 or 20 minutes max? And right, so what are we doing here? Just taking a few more snaps things. Yeah, the pond pump's working okay, because that's running off a combination of solar power to a 12-volt battery and a cheap power supply going from the mains. So if the mains goes, then it should run for a period just off the solar power. Yeah, looks like June's rustled up dinner for the evening. I do the closed circuit TV test, and there you can see when we had the power cut. It was only a few minutes, but we never found out any particular reason for it, and things came on. Oh yeah, that's taken a few pictures of the the publicity. Well, it's Nick Knowles, but he was working with Carol Vorderman in terms of a lovely video back in 1995, and he scripted the whole thing on the Monday when it was done here, with others helping, like putting kit into the police cars, and then they did the live performance on the Wednesday in front of a studio audience, and the audience wouldn't have realised it wasn't having it live. Very well done. Looks like I'm having an ice cream cornet and a few other odds and ends going on. Yeah, time to put the peanuts out. Looks like Samantha's getting some washing in. Make sure the peanuts are topped up there. Yeah, that looks like a half moon. Camera didn't work too badly. There's an aircraft going past. The memories of using the telescope for stuff like that. And peanuts out, including the feeder, so that they're not tempted. Oh yeah, look at that. What's that? The probably updating the robot boat page, and of course, yes, the COVID page. Yes, that particular hosting, there's still a problem not being able to update. One of the, got several hostings, and so that's something which I'm hoping the technical support people will be able to get around the problem. And but luckily the main website goes to one that does work. That's just a blank picture, didn't come out very well. So fingers crossed the problem will be sorted. There's Toadie decided to come and help me, and that's just printing off the COVID graph. Yeah, it looks okay. And I say COVID graph, that's what it was started for, but of course the total deaths may be due to all sorts of things, but it's still, that's why it's a useful thing. You can see if there's a problem. Right, there's a hedgehog coming for peanuts, so we're into the peanut. There's a mouse running from midnight forward, I think that is. And yeah, there's a hedgehog again. These aren't all the visits, but if something's a bit out of the ordinary, like a mouse, then I make sure I include one in the photo trail. There's two hedgehogs. There's a rather mangy looking fox. And yeah, so that's the camera switching 0401 GMT to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. Yes, there's a fox, and quite a young one. There's a hedgehog. There's a hedgehog coming to the top bridge just outside the lounge patio door. There's me getting back from the night before. Oh, and with June as well. It's easy to get mixed up. Just remembering on the fly. So that's the end of the photo trial, because it was time for bed. Thursday the 16th of May 2024. 9 minutes of photos, including this 2-minute summary at the start. Yeah, odds and ends done, including work in the garden, and on the robot boat. But probably the most important thing was pub lunch with my grumpy old friends and neighbours. And Stuart was chauffeur again, and we went to the Cricketers at Bagshot. It looks as though it was trying to rain, but we escaped it. And yeah, enjoyable meal and most important conversation. Most of us had curry. I think Richard had the steak. Yes, and the bill was very reasonable indeed. But of course you get what you pay for. Yes, checked out the tracker. Anybody could see that. Oh yes, Robin spent some time, and of course we've got that problem, which I don't know whether it's going to be fixed. I hope it is. Yeah, they're on to Stuart's for coffee. Anybody could see. Yeah, and Vicky's, and of course very interesting conversations. So back home, and what am I pointing out here? Oh yes, an email had come in. very interesting conversation overlapping with Alan of Go Top, obviously Shenzhen. Oh yes, so that's probably the evening meal in Robin's naughty corner. Hedgehogs and foxes coming for the peanuts on the front porch, and Toady hoping to catch a mouse on the top bridge at the back. And there's a hedgehog, and Toadie's starting to bother me. Yes, so that's getting pretty late in the evening now, so time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. Now I might be able to slip a bit more information, but of course this is the order the photos were taken, and because we're hopping about on different things, like I had problems with the PC, fingers crossed, no surprise there really. And yes, good job I've got a backup. That £70 Lenovo from Malaysia, got quite a few of those around, and I've given them to friends actually years ago now. And yeah, bit of more work on the robot boat, if you call it work. Looks like it's trying to rain. Yeah, there's the fountain, because that's one of the little background jobs that's been done, which is things like the pond pump driven by solar panels and power. Right, had a look at down the garden, and yeah, Iris is beginning to flower in the bog garden area, and the Gunra manticata has come along, and the hawthorn, and hopefully that will encourage birds to nest. And looking around the back, and of course what my helpers, I suppose you call it building and garden maintenance, and the most important work is getting things in the right position so anybody can find them, and of course sorting stuff out. Right, looked at the rain radar. Yeah, sure enough we got a bit of drizzle, and yeah, so I thought I'll put on something a bit better. And there's Stuart arriving, bang on his ETA. And yeah, because Robin's still not allowed to drive, and so Stuart very kindly gives this, as Richard as well. So we're off now from Sunninghill round the corner effectively to Bagshot and the Beefeater, and Richard particularly likes that place because of the keen prices, and yes, the people are good as well. It's just, I won't make any criticisms, but they have a difficult job, having to cope with sometimes a lot of visitors with very few staff. Anyhow, we enjoyed the meal, and most important of course the conversation. So there, 3 of us had curry, and there's the price, or my part of it. There might have been a tip there, and it might have been in cash. Right, on our way back home over the Berkshire border, and oh yeah, I think that we had a car on the tile, and Stuart suggested I get a picture of him. Right, yeah, just checking the tracker. I popped home for a few minutes, check emails mostly, and things like that problem which we need to sort. Probably just finding out how I pay them. Yeah, then around to Stuart's for coffee and bickies, and of course conversation, and then back home, and yeah, a few snaps of the front lawn. Is like the mossy bare patches will be coming up. June's watching tennis, of course. I check the tracker again. Yes, there's time round at Stuart's, and yeah, that all seems to be working okay. And I'm back home now here. And so what I'm pointing out now, oh yes, that email came in, very interesting indeed. And so I sent a reply with lots of information, and you never know, we might be able to help each other in some way, because it all comes down to people. Yeah, pointed at a few pages, including the Chase or AVL page. Then June rustled up dinner for the evening, and I carried on doing various odd jobs. Yeah, trying to access. We've got a problem with one of their hosters, the TSO one, and hopefully they may fix it. Technical support guys say they're onto it. A little bit of looking at the robot boat, putting the peanuts out on the top bridge, the patio. Took the opportunity to take a walk down the garden. It was obviously beginning to get dark and lights were coming on, including that light. Pictures are a bit blurred because I was not using flash most of the time, occasionally did. And looking back up the garden, and the sundial, the top pond, yeah, a bit blurred. The pump had stopped. I thought, wonder why. And I spent a lot of time messing around, but in the end I found that it wasn't there. So what's this? 9:10 in the evening, British summertime. I'm probably thinking the pump might sort itself out with time. And yeah, there it's working again. And yes, still playing out. I found out eventually it wasn't connected to the place I thought it was. So not easy to do when it's dark. Yeah, there's probably doing the closed circuit TV check from midnight forward, and there are hedgehogs and foxes sharing the peanuts carefully, and Toadie on the back porch, near the top bridge, looking for mice, and getting light. And 03:57 GMT is when the camera switched to colour for the day. So I'm now running back from midnight. There's a hedgehog coming for peanuts down there, and then Toadie's decided to have fun while I'm doing what I'm doing, and so I took a few snaps of him until he eventually went over on the other end of the room. And there's a fox live, I think that is. Oh no, I was just finishing off the closed circuit TV check back to 2015 GMT when the camera switched to black and white for the night. Hello Toadie. Right, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Friday the 17th of May 2024. Yeah, sorry, 21 minutes of photos including this 3-minute summary. Some of it is familiar material, but a little bit further you'll see why this is so long. Yeah, usual mixture of things like pictures of work in the garden or progress in the garden, and yeah, that's normal sort of stuff. And one of those jobs was in fact what caused all the time. Yes, yeah, just a few. The tour showed a few more things, and a bit of progress on the robot boat. Gradually making good progress on that now. And June's white SOS tracker, and I'm getting these warning things, and this is becoming a issue now. A problem. Yeah, processing the video from the day before like I am for this one, and yes, Toadie and Bentley prowling around while I'm out there prowling around with themselves, I think. And the water squirter, now that was the thing that occupied much of my time through the photo trail, and it was all down to we popped out to Maidenhead Aquatics so I could get some material to make the pole that carries the water higher, and the end result was okay from the point of view it didn't achieve what I was trying to do, but the water squirter that's there is better than it was. Yeah, closed circuit TV check at the end of the day. Hello Robin, yes, that's me. And oh, that was live probably. This is the closed circuit TV check. Yes, foxes and hedgehogs coming for the front porch and also out the back as well. And a little baby fox and a bat. Yeah, and yeah, 2 hedgehogs. Interesting relationship between those. And yeah, that was the end of the check. Put out peanuts, and I think it was then that I noticed the water squirter. Oh yes, I think by then it was triggering just going to the back door. Yeah, put the peanuts out at the front as well. Put the feed for the fish, and sun's going down, so do a few checks on direction of the sun and what the garden looks like. Yeah, Gin's rustled up. Evening dinner while they're watching tennis. I take that into the naughty corner where I can do all sorts of checks on the CCTV. In fact, there was quite a lot of other things done that's not a part of the photo trail, basically due to an online conversation. Yeah, time for bed, so that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they were shot, starting with Bentley in his favourite position early in the day in the laundry basket in the utility room, and at the time June and Samantha at tennis, and so that's her white go-top tracker showing where she is. Gives me warning getting back. Yeah, went out to the garden. Yes, temperature coming up nicely, 16 degrees. That thermometer. No electronics, but it works very well. And what do we got next? Yeah, just sort of did a bit of a walk around the garden. Yeah, usual thing of what direction's the sun, and checking out the sundial. Obviously it's complicated by trees and things, and I decided that the geometry of that sundial was such that it came up later, some little arrows were needed. You should read off the shadow time at the edge of it, and so rather than where the shadow goes through those brass British Standard Time numbers, you should read off at the bottom, so it's just a reminder of the 1 hour difference. Yeah, usual thing about the tour, and it all comes down to making sure tools are in the right place. And of course this is where a massive amount of work is needed, which is to move things, a lot of it is in the house, into space provided, and sort it through, because there's a lot of very important stuff and we don't want the important stuff thrown away instead of the stuff that we can easily afford to throw away or give away. Some of it is stuff that people might have a use for. Yeah, so that's the so-called workshop. Yeah, it needs a load of tidying, but at least the structure is there. Yes. Then looking out, yes, those plants are hopefully going to pick up that I've put in front of the workshop. So a bit of a tour going around the June's greenhouse. Yeah, well, that's up to her. Perhaps, I think one of the bright ideas I had is that she could find some places to hang up things in her greenhouse. I know later I was looking for some gloves. Well, I eventually found one with her help, but I could have seen it immediately if it was amongst the things hung up that you use often, like perhaps a trowel and gloves and things. Right, so this is looking from outside. Yeah, just put them on the record in case things change. Yes, including the birthday present coming up to 4 years ago. June got me that. Grass seems to be doing alright. Up the front, I cut it because the priority was to get those patches filled where it was mossy. And I've been putting seed and soil down there. Yes, usual things that appear at the beginning. That mirror is useful, mostly for seeing round the corner. And yes, what we got down the bottom there, it's a fart machine. Yes. And looking at the notices as well. There you go, you can read it if you want to. Right, I think that QR code should work to the website. and going into the house. I did a bit more of a tour around, even though it will have appeared in earlier photo trails and videos. So the kitchen, yeah, June wants the new kitchen. Hopefully the layout will be close enough so don't get lost in it. And back to where the robot boat is, and obviously made some progress on that. The key thing is we've got a location now, a little place for the spot tracker to go. I just took a few more snaps of the games room. Yeah, all needs to be gradually sorted out so we can find things, and some stuff will get, I think, given away rather than thrown away. Yeah, closed circuit TV. So I'm back in the lounge here, back into the hall again, and into my study for a brief look. That's where I am at the moment, recording this. Yeah, a few pictures of old friends on the wall. That hasn't changed for many decades. Now that's what I ordered, which are the best thing I could find were little arrows. They're sort of brass or orange coloured by the look of it. They should arrive in the next few days, and I thought that was the best solution. Of course I ordered it on June's Amazon account, however it didn't take her very long. Hello, what's that? Oh yes, the PC was playing up, that was able to sort it out. There's June's Go Top White SOS tracker, and yes, now we've got this expiring objects message, and I've been getting that for the other trackers, and at first we thought, perhaps it might have been that the SIM card had not been used, but it seems to be what makes good business sense, but you have to do it properly so people can easily pay extra, and I've not been able to find out how to do that. Right, there's the cats. So yes, hello Bentley. Yes, the cats are prowling around, ready to play tricks on each other. So this is the back porch outside the patio door, and Toadie's prowling around on the high ground there, and Bentley went under the barbecue. Now so they get up to all sorts of mischief. Yes, Toadie's wondering. There's the temperature coming up to, what was that? Coming up to 20, was it? Yeah, I like that thermometer. Right, back to the robot boat work. Now, of course, I'm doing a bit of work on one thing and then something else happens, and so you get on with that. And he says, what? But, yeah, so it's basically looking at the details of the wiring inside the boat. But then that water squirter, I thought, perhaps I could do something better, because the vegetation is triggering it because it's so low. Anyhow, back to the boat, and yeah, checked it out, all seems to be working okay, and so I'm gradually getting the wiring better there, and I also put some labels on the cables that were driving the water pump. Some of the cables are now well hidden, and we may even get stuff grown over them, but where they come out to connect onto batteries, wherever those batteries are, and solar panels, it's easy to get confused, and I did get confused by knowing what was what, so that's why I put the labels on. There we go, just after 12 GMT, so that'd be 1 o'clock BST. And oh yes, and in the process of going around there, loads of brambles were snagging me. That's where I needed a pair of gloves and put them back where they were. But perhaps a good idea is to, like I have in other places, have some places to hang things up. They're visible. Yeah, so now I thought, I wonder if I can do something about that water squirter to make it longer, the pole. And I had, yes, June rustled up lunch, so that interrupted me, and we went out looking for some material, like a tube of the right diameter, Maidenhead Aquatics was the first place, and that seemed to be a really good fit. You know, cheap. I just bought 3 meters, and yeah, came past into the village, and yeah, so got the material for making those high. And this is where I spent a lot of time, and mostly it was time because of well, not so much mistakes as not thinking ahead on what would happen. Yeah, so I'm checking things like, yes, I think the black SOS tracker was working then, that was yesterday, and today it stopped working. Now that's the Spot Satcoms tracker that's going in the boat, and there's also the spare one that's also carried in the car for testing. People want to know where it is, well they just click on the right place, or tap on the right place, and up comes not only where it is now, or the last report, but the history, and that's all working well. And while I'm there, I say, okay, there's the spare Satcoms tracker, which is on the contact page, and yeah, it's called Spot T2. Now back to the work related to coming up with a longer pole based on those tubes and the materials I was using. I was looking, half the thing is finding what you're looking for. There we go, there's PVC tape. I thought that'd be one of the materials I'd use, and it was a case of, now what I didn't realise is what happened when you got water under pressure, and fundamentally the approach I ended up abandoning at the end after spending a lot of time on it might have been okay if I had given the silicone sealant time to dry and set, but the problem was under high pressure water finds a route around that kind of spiral, which is or helix, what do you call it, around the outside of the tube. Anyhow, yeah, odds and ends, a lot of process of turning the water on and off. So the first time water was squirting out of it, goodness me, he says. Yes, totally amused. So I turn the tap back off. That's the water that's feeding out to a hose feeding water squirters, and yes, have a glass of water, and yeah, so I'm saying, right, perhaps the answer is to put a load of tape. I think that particular fault was because the first bit of water squirter tube I used had loads of cracks, which I thought would get fixed. So as I say, you try different things. There's Toady. So that's what's new there, wrapped around there. Yeah, hard work. And that is a solution to make it straight, because when you want to put it in position, if it's drooping about all over the place, it's not so easy to work with. So it's very simple. So the PVC tape was a good solution for binding that bit of L-shaped plastic to it. And yeah, so it looks, so I just turned it off so that I can do a bit more there. Yes, yes. On one occasion it shot out, the pressure of the water, the tube shot out, and so I thought, a couple of screws might do it to retain it. Yeah, the leakage from there would be next to nothing, if anything, but I thought that might fix it. No, the water was all shooting out down the bottom. Again, with all these jobs, it was a case of recognising the method I was using, which sometimes might be very simple, where it was prone to failure, and so a lot of time was wasted on that. But of course, yeah, that's the problem, because it's too low. But yeah, looking at, oh no, it wasn't working, and I thought it was because the batteries were flat, and of course that's something in the longer term. It'd be good to put rechargeable batteries and a solar panel on it, but in fact it was okay. It was I don't know whether it was a bad connector, but anyhow, so the thing was functioning okay. So then it was a question of, so this is basically the water squirter without an extension tube, and just being very careful how it was repositioned and adjusted. And yeah, so yeah, I'm probably saying put things back in the right place, like the hammer is currently, or club hammer, being put there, and those unsuccessful tubes may have good materials for doing the job properly, so I've put those with a little pile of water squirter junk. I say junk, but it's stuff that we might get working and or use bits of it. So that water squirter is now a case of saying, right, try and camouflage it a little better. So the camouflage netting that was over there is there, and yeah, a little bit more work, if you call it that, which is putting crocodile clips. Those cables already had the labels on. I did that earlier in the day, and so now it's less easy to get confused if we're swapping around what the pump is connected on. Oh yes, I'd run a McAfee scan in the background, and yeah, there's a little Robin. Hello, Mr. Robin. Yes. What are you looking at me for? He's looking at the camera. So that looks like the not sure whether that's the closed circuit TV check for the night. Arrival of various foxes and hedgehogs, starting from midnight running forward, and that little baby, oh, very young fox. And yes, there's a couple of foxes with the hedgehog. They tend to not tangle with the hedgehog, but they sometimes very carefully eat right next to it. That's through to when the camera switched to 0356 GMT in the morning to colour, and now I'm running backwards from midnight. These aren't all the visits, they're just representative, because occasionally you get something different, like a bat. That's probably about the third or fourth time I've seen the bat in the check. And there's a couple of hedgehogs. It's interesting to see their behaviour in terms of one, not quite sure whether that was simply a dominant one pushing the other one out of the way. And that's the end of the check at 2000, that's 9 o'clock BST. And yeah, so now putting peanuts out, and come to the door and the water squirter goes off. So it's set up brilliantly in terms of sensitivity, so that's working well. Yeah, peanuts are all out there. Fish food, throw that into the pond. Yeah, the water pump, that's the 12-volt DC water pump. Had a walk down the garden. It was late in the day just to see what I see. Back into the games room. Yes, June's rustled up dinner, so I take that into the naughty corner of the lounge where I can sit and relax in front of the TV, rather the closed circuit TV, and a bit more work on the boat, basically checking with the old fails tracker all the mechanical details. And I'm looking at that and deciding, now, what are we going to do about wiring? Now, it wasn't until the next day that I did that work. When I say the next day, that's today, as I'm recording this. But it was basically making sure we had a terminal block there that was easy to anybody to look at it, including myself. Now, how do we make something similar? And if something works well, then do it the same way. So, time for bed. So that's the end of the photo trail. Saturday the 18th of May 2024. 13 minutes of photos, including this 2.5 minute summary at the start. Yeah, a lot of the events are the sort of things you see, in terms of the use of the trackers and things, all sorts of stuff, including knowing when June's getting back from tennis with Samantha, and work on the robot boat. Bit of soldering, like dry joints to be fixed, and more progress in the wiring, making very good progress on the boat. And such that the tracker that is tested, the SATCOMS tracker, tested in the car, can easily be fit in to the space provided and connected. But normally it's carried around in the car with a small solar panel to keep it topped up. Yeah, so lots of things all happening at the same time, and those arrived, which are stick-on arrows to make the sundial a little clearer, and occasionally you can see from the direction of the sun even if you can't see a shadow. So I'm checking that, and yes, and WhatsApp chat with family, and oh yes, made a start on a draft CV. Not for applying for a job, but for other purposes that will surface in due course. Looks like back end of the day, June's rustled up food. I take it into the naughty corner in the lounge. June's watching the television. I'm doing the closed circuit TV check, and there's that little baby fox. And also fox come into the back, the top bridge, getting light there, and a hedgehog. So that is just before the camera's switched to colour. You can see because it's colour, and that was probably going back. All very confusing to try and summarise it quickly. But I also popped out and took a look at the outside, put some peanuts down at the back and at the front. And yes, I'm hoping that we'll solve a problem with the GoTop trackers, which are good products, but yeah, there's Toadie interfering with what we're doing. So time for bed. So that's the end of the summary. So now into the photos in the order they're shot, and of course we're jumping backwards and forwards on different tasks, so it won't be quite so clear. So I probably was just pointing out that yes, I could see that June and Samantha were back, and there's Toadie on guard duty on Samantha's car. And I'll point out here June's GoTop tracker, which is still working. Very good product and good software support in it, but basically it seems it times out after whatever it is, 18 months or 2 years of purchase, and so I need to find out how to pay for the thing to continue tracking. Right, what do we got here? Yeah, they're probably about lunchtime. Toadie's come in for his lunch or late breakfast. Yeah, looking at the just use the opportunity to take a few snaps of those temporary mirrors in the skylights, and a bit of soldering on the boat. I think the main thing I found was a dry joint, but also yeah, soldering the wires in. I'll have to make a schematic diagram sometime to go up, but yeah, and put the tracker back where it's normally kept for the moment. Or no, I've just taken it out of the car, and I'm just going to make sure it fits in there okay and can be easily using a suitable terminal point. Some of these things in the longer term can be soldered, of course, but start off with those. Yes, I had a problem with the little screw dropping out, but luckily I had plenty of spares, so was able to find the screw that had dropped somewhere onto the floor. So that goes nicely into place. A lot of the important things, of course, are mechanical in terms of how things squeeze into the box. And looking at one of the trackers, that was the message I've been getting up now for my tracker, whereas June's tracker, this is the white SOS GoTop tracker, is fine. But he says my tracker, which was purchased some months before the white one, has failed in the same way that other ones have. And I'm sure this will be sorted out in slower time, but it's just a matter of knowing and being told where to go to make a payment. And as long as the payment is sensible, then I'm quite happy to make it. But it doesn't help if nobody tells you. Anyhow, so what's that? Yeah, checking the Spot SATCOMS tracker, which is the type that's going into the boat and has been in the boat for years, and that's fine. but he says a little small detail, perhaps he's saying. Yeah, a question of, yes, how do you fit it in? So that was the test of actually doing it, and then I use a bit of duct tape to stick it into position for testing in the car, so it's easy to take it in and out. So what's happening? Oh yes, put the duct tape back. General thing, put things back in the right place. First you've got to have places to put things. And oh yes, looks like Bentley sleeping in the washing basket. He's the first to discover that nice spot. It's effectively on high ground, so anybody coming in through the cat flap, which tends to be cats rather than people, can't see that somebody's further above them. Oh yes, dialogue here by email, sent out to a few people. If you freeze it, you'll probably see what it said. But those had arrived by post, and so I thought, where can they fit? And I needed them to be shorter when you actually look at it, and that's an easy job. Go into the workshop, get the right tool for the job, the little hacksaw, and saw them off to the right length. Keep the other bits because they can be used for other things, and yeah, they pop into place nicely. So that's the right place, but I didn't order enough, so June kindly ordered some more, another 2 packs, 8 in total, and I do what I was going to do, which is painted them gold, I suppose, and then they can be glued into position. Those extra bits, oh yes, I found that silly me hadn't peeled off the backing strip before I'd stuck them in position, but we'll see how they do, and it'd be easy to glue them in again if needed. So yeah, it's beginning to look closer to what it'll be in the longer term. Direction of the sun, yeah, well that's where the shadow would be if it wasn't hidden by trees or the sun wasn't in the cloud. Yeah, some chat on the family WhatsApp. Yeah, trying to send a link to WhatsApp, it doesn't like it. Not surprised. Discussion on that is because it's using the old standard HTTP protocol. Anyhow, it was family WhatsApp stuff, including 10 years ago that Saskia and Gary had their first date. And yeah, and I was curious, who owns WhatsApp? Wow, there we go, it's got all the details. There's June watching tennis. So that dialogue's going on in the background, and typically alerts on the smartphone. Now that gave me a bright idea. That plastic decoy duck, it's about the right size for me to put that little high-speed motorboat inside. So no work on that yet, but it was a bright idea. Yes, last time I wrote a CV was at the end of the 1970s, I think. But yeah, interesting exercise of going through the process of seeing what was normally expected in the CV, and that certainly won't be a conventional one, and it may have some indirect benefits. So June's rustled up the evening dinner. I do the usual and take it through to a more relaxed setting in the naughty corner in the lounge, where the seating is far more comfortable than the kitchen. And June watches that Victorian drama, I think. I can't remember the name of it now. And pre-Victorian, I believe it is. And yes, I'm doing the closed circuit TV check, started from midnight running forward. And there's that baby fox. It's only in the last day or two that we've seen him. He's just started to come round, I guess with one of the parents initially, before he is able to come round on his own. Complete mixture of different foxes. And that was before the camera switched to colour for the day. So there's the foxes and the hedgehogs in daylight. So nice colour pictures. Yeah, there's a hedgehog up for the peanuts on the back branch. So now that's where the camera is. 0354 GMT. is where they switch to colour for the day. So I'm now running from midnight backwards, and similar sort of pattern, but sometimes you see something different. So yeah, foxes and hedgehogs on the front and the back at the top bridge. There's Toady hoping for a mouse to come out, and Toady watching a hedgehog feeding. The camera switched to black and white for the night at 2011 GMT. So that's the closed circuit TV check done. That's the drama that June's watching, and getting late, so yeah, just a few pictures. Put the peanuts out on back bridge. The water squirter's going off and I go out there, which is good. Peanuts at the front. Yeah, picture of the boat or two, and that's pretty well the last pictures I shot on that day, I think. Yes, a few emails. Yeah, pointing out the AVL page with good stuff, praising GoTop and Alan, and I thought, I wonder who's visited that, and looks as if it was just my friend in Argentina at this time. And yeah, there's Toady joining, and there's the duck. I thought, yes, I might do a little project on that, and so there's, yeah, Toady making a nuisance of himself, and yeah, so getting near the end of the photo trail, I should think now. Yes, time for bed, so that's the end of the photo trail. Sunday the 19th of May 2024, 14.5 minutes of photos, including this 3.5 minute summary at the start. And this is not all the day, because it's been put together at the last minute, but the most important thing was their lovely picnic with the Bansals. And yes, there's a few pictures of that, and Romeo when we visited to meet up with them before we went off. And it was at Runnymede Park, I think. I can't remember the name of it, but basically, yeah, lovely picnic. Really enjoyed ourselves there. Lovely weather, of course, and a lovely spot, which it's some years since we've been there. And yeah, the swans, yeah, and they come for food. And there was the mallard duck, I think, which is reminding me of a little project I have in mind. And yeah, little things of amusement. Went over to the cafe, got some ice creams, brought those back, and June pointed out that the double parking of cars had blocked cars in. Anyhow, we had no problem, so we're off back into Sunninghill, and yeah, past the Bansals and back home. And yeah, there's Toady. Decided he's taken the laundry basket in the utility room. Looked at the time. Yeah, June put out the washing. I had a quick look at the direction of the sun. Yeah, one of the little projects on the side. It only takes a few minutes at a time. The spot tracker, the SATCOMs tracker that is going in the robot boat, showed for anybody interested where exactly the car went. So that was good. June's GoTop white SOS tracker also worked well. However, of course, in the last day or two, my black tracker doesn't respond, and obviously we're waiting to see how on earth I pay for it to continue. Anybody interested could go to the AVL page on the site, and yeah, there's the really good salesman and good thing. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping that problem will quickly be sorted. Just simply give me the right information. Yeah, so recording the commentary for the day before in the same way I'm doing this for this one. And then there was a visit from Hamid. Yeah, I noticed he had a quick look at that. Tennis club, and he kindly restrung her racket. That was an interesting conversation we had for the few minutes that he was here. And yeah, the water squirter was working well, kept going off, but I'm thinking one little project is putting a solar panel on it. June points out that the tennis she's watching is the men's final from Rome. Also showed me some things about Hamid. And yeah, so this isn't the end of the day, but that's the end of the summary. And the Comrades Club is where I might pop later this evening. So into the photos in the order they were shot. Yes, the robot boat first of all. Snoopy's robot boat went out into the garden, looking around the games room. Yeah, it's very untidy. Stuff has to be put in the right places. And because when I shot this, I previously shot the introduction to the mid-May video photo trails. Yeah, there's the three wise robins, and that's a bright idea, putting that high speed boat inside that duck. Don't know when I'll do it, but it's on the list. Glance at the study, back into the kitchen, June's white Go Top SOS tracker. So we're about to go off to meet up with the bandsaws. That spot tracker that is destined for the boat, and the other trackers are in the car. So yeah, June's carefully making her way down to the village, and it's dead easy to park outside the bandsaws. So Belle came right, had a chat. Hello, Raj. And Romeo. Romeo wasn't coming with us on the picnic, but it was good to see him. So we spent a few minutes on the patio, and Belle showed us some videos. So yeah, Comrades Club across the road. And right, so it looks as though we're practically ready to go. And it turned out that they didn't have a problem with cars, so June and I went in our car and they went in Jazz's car, I think it was. Looking at the paper map, yeah, sun caught it a bit too much, but it shows the area we were going. And yeah, make sure the camera that I'm using didn't run flat, so I was charging that up. And so we're now off through the village, past Chapman's Ironmongers, past the Jade, used to be the Jade Fountain, past the school, past the Course Hall. So coming out of the village, and yeah, making our way out along the 329, I think it is. Yes, past the the ruins. Now on the A30, past. Oh, it's all too quick to remember. Yeah, and making our way, getting very close now. So that's the Magna Carta area out on the left, and we're getting close. We're on the road which runs back towards Windsor and into the car park, and I was very impressed. We thought car parking might be a problem, but there was lots of it, so it was very well organised. Obviously, yeah, found the suitable spot with a nice bit of shade if we needed it. Yeah, there's Robin and Jazz, there's Robin and Raj, and yeah, some boats coming past, people often waving. And yeah, lovely time. Yeah, and some swans, and Robin thought, I wonder if they'll come for food, and I picked a daisy or two, and they did. I didn't get all the pictures, but yes, that was a bit of fun. And there was a duck, I think that was a mallard duck, and that's the same type as the plastic one that I have. He says, yeah, he's probably saying, perhaps Robin could have a go on the those little things. Certainly Damon would be interested in them. And now we got the ice creams, and yes, June's pointing out the double parking, so we were just lucky where we parked. But yeah, paid for the parking. You've got to pay to get out. Not sure what happens if you don't. Of course, there is a barrier there. And so we're now on our way back home. Yes, past the tractor and past a few places. Holloway College, I think, on the left. Yes, that looks like it. Royal Holloway College, I think it's called. And yeah, past the used to be called the American School. It's called the International School on the left. Yeah, that place is gradually been built up. And yes, past the ruins. I think they came from Libya, coming into Berkshire, and past where June used to live, and getting much closer to Sunninghill. Yes, past Crossways where June's mum and dad lived before she was born, and the Mara School. Party in the Park. I think I'm going to miss that, unfortunately. Yeah, through the village, and yeah, past the Bensals, and we're making our way home because basically that was all the time we're going to have. June puts the roof up on the car, and of course I take a few snaps as usual going through. Yeah, June comes in. Oh, there's Toadie. He'd been obviously spent hours sleeping in the laundry basket, and came out. I probably took the opportunity. I saw the water squirter going off. Whenever I moved outside, it was triggering it, and which shows how good it is. But of course, it'll run batteries flat quickly. So the solution might be a solar panel on it. Yeah, June put the washing out, and I used the chance to see you just about see a shadow there at about the right time, and the shadow is in the right direction. Yeah, so what else have we got here? Yeah, that is much clearer there. So yeah, it only takes a few minutes to just adjust some numbers or pointers on the sundial. Sort of thing goes on in the background over a period. And now looking at the Spot Satcom's tracker, the very same one that's going in the boat that we're carrying in the car. Anybody could look at it, and including the history of where it been and the exact spot where the car was parked. And it displays an address as well, which isn't bad. So anybody can look at that just by going to the Snoopy page. And now the other tracker is June's white SOS GoTop tracker. Uses the mobile phone network. Again, works brilliantly, so that's good. So then, sadly, my tracker, just for the last day or two, it's not responding, and we know what it is. It's simply, I should have got a link which will say, oh, you go there to the shop and pay for it. But anyhow, in slow time we might hear. So I'm waiting to hear from Alan of GoTop, and fingers crossed that problem will be sorted. Right, Saturday the 18th of May, so that's me recording yesterday's commentary, the same as I'm doing for today, Sunday. And then there was a visit from Hamid, June's friend from the Royal Ascot Tennis Club, and he kindly changed the strings on her racket, which I think he does for a few other friends in the club. So that was a lovely few minutes with him, because he came in and we went over a few details. Right, yeah, water squirter going off. Yes, getting me. Well, not getting me because it's directed not to hit me, but it's me that's triggering it. So solar panel, it's a pretty easy job to do, but I would say, yeah, probably take half an hour to an hour of the time, valuable time. Yeah, again, whatever time that was, it looked like just past 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So put that on the table there as a reminder on the list of jobs to be done. Then, right, this is the larger video, which this will be the last day's worth on with a photo trail, so that will be loaded up tonight for processing and go onto YouTube. Oh yes, June found some information about Hamid, and yeah, I'm sure there's no problems, public stuff. Very interesting guy. Yeah, she points out that the tennis she's been watching is the from Rome, and it was a German versus a guy from Chile, and it seems the German won, and I think Samantha was pleased about that, allegedly, but my friend Roberto Sone in Chile might have thought otherwise. Anyhow, yes, so that's as much as we've got in the photo trail because the day is still young. I said it would be a long set of photo trails. Did warn you. Right, so we're about to go into that material shot early in the year. I normally start from about here. Yes, there's Toadie, our guard cat, having a late breakfast, I would imagine. Hello, Toadie. And June's just doing a bit of washing up because we're getting ready to go out with the Bansals pretty soon. And yes, that was done a little while ago. Temporary mirrors, but at least you get a better view of things like the trees and the wildlife. Right, holidays including Sicily. Yes, we'll be going off to that fairly soon. And into the hall. Yes, hello Toadie. What are you up to? And yeah, you patrol the premises. I expect you end up sleeping somewhere. And so this is a little camera that's being used. You'll get glimpses of the expensive Renoir painting. And I think the earlier material started at about here. Now what I put on the screen, because global warming is rare in itself, it's something that's been on my grumpy page for years. The remarkable James Lovelock, who passed away on the 26th of July, his 103rd birthday. I'll read out what this says here. This has been on the grumpy page for years, not long after the publication of his book, Revenge of Gaia. We can't stop global warming, but we may delay it by a few decades to give us time to prepare for its effects. Vast areas of the world, including as close as continental Europe, becoming arid desert, shrinking of habitable areas of the planet to much smaller parts of the planet, closer to the poles. The Earth will then only be able to support a small fraction of its present population, and there will be a need for massive migration. Places like the UK will remain temperate a little longer, so be an attractive destination. We need all world governments to cooperate to prepare for this inevitability. Also to agree things like reduce use of fossil fuels to give us a few more decades to prepare. And then it goes on. The above is not a quote, but how I remember what James Lovelock said in his book, The Revenge of Gaia, etc. That's been unchanged on my site for years. And right, well, the other thing I should mention, yes, retired, happy and spending that kid's inheritance, is for some time now I've not been able to drive due to, well, several mistakes at the DVLA. And what I will say is that I have new evidence of what happened inside the DVLA, which I won't publish yet, because I'm still waiting for the reply to the letter which was delivered by recorded delivery to the head of the DVLA and also other people. So I'll put in at the end of this long video the video that's gone up, me talking about the DVLA, and basically in summary, it says I don't want anybody to get into trouble, and that is definitely the case. And resigning is too easy. Problems need to be fixed. But quite honestly, that is a minor thing compared with all the other things that are going on in the world. Not least wars, and of course what's in the background and very important is global warming. So let's run into that. Back in 2012.
Seen the launch of a transatlantic sailing attempt this morning in a model boat. Retired NATO scientist Robin Lovelock launched his Snoop loop from Barton-on-Sea towards the Bahamas. It's already been tested over 5,000 miles on a lake in Berkshire. The model will be steered and tracked through a satellite system and by Snoopy, of course, and it should make the crossing in 6 months, if it survives, that is.
The most important thing of the lot, of course, is Snoopy the Viking, the skipper. I don't think he'd make it otherwise. We've also got another bit and piece here. This is a GPS logger that logs the position every 15 minutes.
That was back in 2012. The guy that put this material together, including live broadcast and what went up on the BBC website, is Ben Moore.
I just worry for Snoopy. Sport now and Hampshire.
Right, on to the next topic. Right. Now, I'm going to do this all in one take. All unrehearsed and unscripted, so sorry about that. What I'd like to happen, if anybody picks up on the DVLA story, is, as I say, nobody getting into trouble, and that's a genuine request. But when they find flaws in procedures where they don't cover certain things, be good if those are fixed. What I think would be useful for anybody looking at the DVLA and perhaps helping them is, first of all, their organisation chart showing the structure. Yes, it's well known who the head of the DVLA, remarkable woman, looking at her CV, and relevant to this story is the head of the health part. But it would be very useful to see, even if names aren't attached, obviously the names can be attached where they're public already, is how many people in each branch, how many people are reporting to how many. So a simple tree would help. I suggest that first of all. Then, perhaps even more important, is how many people working for the DVLA, even if you don't identify the individuals, are salaried by the DVLA excuse me, directly, as opposed to contracted through an agency or a business. That is very important, and we've seen what's been happening in places like the NHS for years. So that comes into the equation in terms of whether money is well spent, and of course the DVLA collects a lot of money, and there are probably other things as well, but as a starting point, I'd hope anybody that responds to this, I can't afford to get overloaded, we've got other things to do, many other things to do, and we'll be taking a holiday, that'll be public, yes. I'm tracked everywhere by different things, and in fact, if anybody's paranoid about it, anybody who's tracking somebody or looking at somebody's probably seen already. But at the end of the day, there's me wittering on, which is one of my major weaknesses since I was a little child. That's why if you put things up, clearly be careful what you put up, and often it can do some good. I'm now in the kitchen, and June's rustling up some food in the microwave for Samantha, and here's Samantha, and of course there's tennis on the television, just for a change. So, oh yes, point out, holidays in we're going off to Sicily again soon, and into the hall. Yes, nice expensive paintings here. Yep, expensive little pocket camera, not expensive, and through into the lounge and out to wrap up this video by saying, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy what days we have. Yes, it's now middle of March 2024, and the pond's changed quite a bit. I'll have to change the copyright statement at the end, but the message is the same. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy life while we can. Oh yeah, my hair's grown a bit since then.